Hey, hello class. I've had a few students ask me about this question, and I wanted to go through the explanation on how to do this. This is actually from pre-calculus. You probably ran into this, so it's been a little while. What we're trying to do is figure out what sine of 2 times sine inverse of 7/25 is. And you could use your calculator and plug this all in and get the answer, but that's not the point of the problem. The point of the problem is to realize that this looks a lot like this over here. This is a formula from pre-calc. If you have sine of 2 times, let's say, u, then that actually equals, I apologize, I'm getting over a sickness here. I sound terrible. Then this is actually going to turn into 2 times sine of u and then times cosine of u. And that's what we call our double angle identity or double angle formula. So the point of this is that if you have inside your argument, you have 2 times the angle, that you can break this up. And so that what you're left with is 2 times sine of just the angle and then cosine of just the angle. So you kind of get rid of the 2 that's inside the argument. So for us in this problem, when we look at this, this is like the u, okay? The sine inverse of 7/25 is kind of like the u is over here. So we have sine of 2u. So we know that this will break down to be 2 times sine of whatever u is, and then cosine of whatever u is. So in our case, you know, the u is this whole thing. So that's going to go here, sine inverse 7/25, and then sine inverse of 7/25. Okay, so that's where we are so far. Now, this first one, this sine of sine inverse of 7/25, sine and sine inverse are inverse functions of one another. So they basically kill each other off. And what you're left with is just 7/25. You still have the 2 that's out front. Okay, this 2 is still here. So 2 times 7/25. Then times, now what we need to do is figure out what this is. Now this is the part that's going to be tricky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you realize again that we're calling this thing in here u. So what we need to do is we need to use what's called a reference triangle to figure out what that is. So what I'm going to do is over here, I'm going to write down exactly what we're saying. U is equal to the sine inverse of 7/25. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take sine on both sides of this equation. You'll see where I'm going here in a second. That means that sine of u is equal to, and again, these sine and sine inverse cancel, and you get 7/25 here is what sine of u is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and draw an arbitrary right triangle. Now it's important, it has to be a right triangle. And this statement right here, that sine of the angle u is equal to 7/25, means that I can draw a triangle. I can call this angle u, and sine by definition is the opposite side over the hypotenuse. And so I can label this opposite side of the angle u to be 7, and then the hypotenuse to be 25. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because ultimately here, if you look at this, what we want to know is what is cosine of u. And see, if I know that sine of u is 7/25, and I draw my right triangle, then cosine of u would be whatever this adjacent side is divided by 25. And so now what you need to do is figure out what that adjacent side is. So I'm going to call that adjacent side, I'm just going to call it a. And we know by Pythagorean that a squared plus 7 squared must equal 25 squared. And then we can solve for a. So a squared plus 49 equals 25 squared. So if you need to get your calculator out here, you can get your calculator out. Okay, a squared equals, let's see, we subtract 49 from both sides and we get 576. And then we need to take the square root on both sides. Oops. sorry. So we take the square root on the left side, we get a, and then if you take the square root over here, you get 24. Now, technically you get plus or minus 24, but since a is the side of this triangle, we're going to use the positive 24 here. So that's it. Look, we know what cosine of u is, right? See, that's what this is, right? We want to know what cosine of u is. Cosine is the adjacent, which we said is 24, over the 25. So this will be 24 over 25. And that goes right here. Okay, so now we're pretty much done. We just have to multiply things across. So we'll do 2 times 7 times 24. So 2 times 7 times 24. And my calculator is 336. And then over on the bottom, again, we have 25 times 25, which is 625. So that would be the exact answer for this expression. I know it's somewhat involved, but the main point of this, the reason I put this problem on here is because this idea of getting a reference triangle is going to come up later. So it's important that you understand how to do this. I hope that helps. Let me know if it doesn't.